And that was like a really difficult season because you're not even saying this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're saying like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have to be open to these opportunities and ideas because I feel like God's calling me somewhere else. I just don't know where that is yet.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of It Takes Two podcast. We're so excited to be with you, recording with you guys. It's late right now where we're at. It's 9:37 p.m., 8:37.
Well, we always kind of do it late in the day.
Yeah, we always record at night, and it was a fiasco getting the equipment and everything sorted today. We were going to record earlier, and then we didn't have the stuff, but we are finally making it happen a little later than usual.
Yeah, but that's why we always talked about like, oh, do you want to have like natural lighting? Should we do it in the mornings on these days? And I was like, life always happens. I feel like you and I always end up having dinner at like 9 o'clock. Like we just kind of like to do things late.
Yeah, we do have dinner late. All of our friends give us a bunch of crap for it, but it works for us.
Like we like to sleep in on Saturday. I woke up at 10 and like
Oh, yeah.
all of our in-laws have kids. So they were like, you woke up at 10?
Yeah, we eat late, we sleep in. You know, it's just our thing. So
Just casual.
It works for us. But we are excited for this episode. We're going to be talking about gender roles, which I know is a little bit of a hot topic in today's world.
Well, this kind of got spurred on from a conversation I had with a friend, and he is single, but I was like, wow, this is actually a really good conversation. I think it would be a great topic to bring to the podcast. And, you know, if you guys have more questions that come from this, I think that could be something we can talk about later on, but we'll just get the conversation started with just some ideas that we had floating around the topic. But we always like to start with a fun segment. And so this time we are doing a Would You Rather.
I love Would You Rather questions, which is crazy because you're the one that actually came up with the segment idea.
I did.
But I always annoy Adrian because we'll be in the car and I'll just throw out a random Would You Rather question. I'm a big Would You Rather guy. So we're going to play Would You Rather, and we're going to keep it simple with one question because we want your guys' input as well. So we'll answer it. We'll give our opinions. But then if you're listening, make sure that
we'll take it to the polls. It's election day today.
It is election day today. I turned in our ballots. We voted, everybody. And if you didn't vote, then...
That was not a plug. I just like a real question. Did you do what I told you to do?
Yeah, but this is like local elections. I don't think is it the same day everywhere?
It's election day. It's like literally election day.
Oh, no.
It's on the calendar.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, we voted.
And now you can vote on this Would You Rather poll.
That's right. That was a great little segue. That was smooth.
We'll put it on our stories. You can comment on our YouTube videos. And we want to hear, and we'll come back next week with all the tallied votes and tell you which option won.
Yeah. So our question for today, we try and keep it, marriage, relationship related.
Yeah.
So do you want to say it or do you want me to say it?
Yeah. Well, so 2 days ago, Spencer's sister got married.
She did.
And so that was a really fun family wedding. Oh, it was so gorgeous.
We were at a castle. Thornwood Castle, and it's been in a movie, a Stephen King movie. A little creepy, but whatever. It was awesome. The whole venue was beautiful, and we had a great time in it. But it kind of got spurred on from that, I guess.
Yeah, so we were thinking about like, okay, his sister just got married, or doing a Would You Rather, and so the question that we have is, would you rather throw up at the altar at your wedding, or would you rather have your ex uninvitedly show up to your wedding?
An ex crash a wedding or throw up at the altar?
Yeah.
What kind of throw up are we talking about? Like, is it like or is it like a projectile?
I mean, it's not cute.
Well, no throw up is cute. But, I mean, I think we have to specify. I think that we're going for a very scenic, like, you're making a scene, everybody sees it's horrible type of throw up.
Yeah, it's not like a throw up in your mouth and then act like nothing happened.
Yeah. Okay, well, have
you
ever seen
that? It's out there.
Have you seen that meme or the video of the officiant doing the wedding and throwing up?
No.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
That's nasty.
I officiated my sister's wedding, but that didn't happen to me, thank God. But yeah, it's disgusting. But it's even actually that's probably worse than being the groom or the bride doing it. But which one would you pick?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I'd be fine never seeing any of my exes again.
Well, yeah.
I think that's probably a really normal feeling.
Well, hopefully.
Well, some people can be friends and be cordial because maybe they're more mature than me, but
I mean, yeah, be cordial, but
I mean, there are people that I used to have relationships with that are, you know,
yeah,
they're
true,
still in our
true,
community,
true.
and there's
But
nothing wrong
those
with
are
them.
like
But
I mean, I don't know. I feel like junior high, high school relationships are a little bit different than like adult, full-fledged relationships.
no,
You don't think so?
no, it's all serious to
Okay,
me.
whatever. Whatever.
So, I mean, I'd be fine never seeing any of them again. But part of me is like, I would just love to see the Taylor Swift song play out when someone crashes my wedding, and then all my friends get up and just take care of business.
Do you think that actually
get
would happen?
out of here?
You think that actually would happen?
I hope so. With how loyal I am to my people, I'm thinking like, would Ben, would Michael, would they just like step up and just be like, you're out of here?
Yeah,
I
I don't
like
know.
to see.
I don't know.
I
what
kind of
would
like to
happen.
see how it would play out. Like, which of my people would stand up for me and like take this man down.
Yeah,
So part of me thinks like I think I would choose that for the dramatic effect.
you're a very dramatic
Because
person.
also it's like I mean, they're not going to ruin anything. Like, we're really happy they can just get out of here. But that's one option. But then when it comes to throwing up at the altar, like, I don't know. I just don't want to look bad in front of people like that.
Especially on that
the
day.
bride cares so much about like your hair, your makeup, your dress. If I ruined any of that, I would be devastated.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I would pick an X too, and here's why. I feel like if an X crashes the wedding, everybody's mad. Like everybody, all the focus is on that. Like, oh, how dare they do that? If I throw up at the altar, I feel like I feel like you're like, why would you do that? It's all the attention's on me.
But like, what if
You messed
your
up.
ex came to the wedding and they were like, I object? Would you still choose that option to like have someone object at your wedding?
Honestly, if if somebody
Like, it makes
came-
them look stupid,
if somebody
really.
went to my wedding and objected, I don't know what I would if it was one of my exes, which I don't even
But
have that
then,
many
like,
significant
you
exes.
probably wouldn't care, but how pissed would I be?
Oh, you'd be furious.
So, like, would you want to live with that? Because I'd probably end up being mad at you, too.
You probably true. Which honestly, that's a perfect scenario. It definitely would happen. Like, an ex would show up, and without me knowing, and Adrian would be pissed off at me. I'd be like, "Wait, what? What do you mean?" I could totally see that happening. But no, I think I would pick that because if I throw up, you're definitely gonna be mad at me.
No, I think I'd feel really bad for you.
No shot. Oh man, I think I would pick the X. What did you pick? The X?
Yeah, I think I would. But I feel like really
Throw up is
weird
just
for
nasty.
picking that.
Throw up's nasty. I don't want that to be a part of me.
Yeah, I don't want to look gross.
Yeah, I don't want that to be a part of my story. So I wonder what the polls will be. Maybe people.
But I feel like there's probably people out there who have way worse exes. They're
That
like,
is
no
true.
way.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
So I'm curious. So let us know which one you would rather. It's really a lose-lose situation here, but
Yeah.
we're curious on what you guys would pick. But
Interesting.
we'll see what the polls say. We'll see what the polls say. But we're going to go into our conversation for today, talking specifically about gender roles. So obviously we're going to have different takes on it and, different perspectives because I'm a guy and you're a girl, which is a good thing.
Thanks for stating the obvious.
You're welcome. If anybody was wondering, just to clarify. But yeah, so is there a place where you want to start with in talking about gender roles? Because we've kind of talked about maybe like the submission and leadership, and obviously we're Christians, so we go by biblical standards in that regard. But we can talk about that a little bit if you want.
Yeah, I actually had a good friend ask me, how do you submit to your husband, and like, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, what a deep question.
That is a deep question.
And it really, and you're answering on the spot. So I was like, wow, I really have to think about that. Like as a wife, what does it mean to submit to your husband? And I think sometimes you can think about, like we talked about this, I think last week, like the balance of control. Like we don't want someone who's controlling, but I also feel like, I don't know. We have a relationship that's built on trust. So I'm submitted to your leadership because I trust you. I don't think you're going to be making decisions that like aren't what's best for me, or, you know, aren't what's best in general, aren't led by like time and prayer and things like that. So I think I have like my thoughts and opinions. And at the end of the day, I think we're still like a partnership. Like it's not a dictatorship. You don't just tell me what to do. I think we really...
Most of the time. Sometimes Adrian's she's a stallion. She's a very strong-willed girl.
I'm a strong-willed person, but I think we have a healthy relationship where I can recognize that at the end of the day, like, oh, I have thoughts and opinions, but if you do, then I'm submitted to what yours are as well.
Have you struggled with that over our time being together? Because it's like, I don't know, dating obviously is different than marriage, and has that been a process for you? Because like a lot of women are strong-willed women, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I feel like
I'm not ashamed.
All girls should, girl power, strength can do so much. But how did you, I guess, mold yourself into be somebody that could be submissive?
I think something that I had struggled with, and then a lot of people that I know that are close to me, is like, oh, I have such a big personality, or like I can seem like, I don't know, like the boss babe or whatever it is,
Boss babe with the glitter Starbucks tumbler. You have like 8 of them. That's why I said that. 8 won't literally get. I'm like, my life is everywhere, filled with these giant venti
gifts,
bejeweled Starbucks
I
mugs.
didn't buy a single one of those. I get in the car, it's there. I open my backpack, it's there. I open my gym bag, it's there. I wake up in the morning, it's next to me. It's you have so many. Okay, but it's like when you like give someone a gift, you always are like, oh, let's do a cute mug. So I have so many cute mugs. Now I have so many cute tumblers.
It's taking over our life.
I have one like in every car. I have one on my nightstand. I have some in the kitchen. La la la.
Yeah, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera. Anyways, I think when you have a really big personality, it can be hard to say, like, is anyone going to match me in this? Or is anyone going to be too intimidated by this to be able to want to approach me? And like you were saying, like, oh, you were, older than me. You had your life together. You had a career, and, you were really established, and I wasn't. So I think, obviously you did have a lot of things going for you. That was like you selling yourself short, but... That's what you said.
No, I know. I totally agree with you. It's just making me laugh. I had everything went together, and you were, man, you were struggling.
No, you were in college. I
was in transition, babe. I had some big things on the come up. No, I agree with you. That we were in very different seasons of life.
So I think going back to what I was saying 3 times ago, I think when you have a big personality, it can be hard to think, like, am I ever going to find someone who is going to be able to match me or handle this big personality? And I think that you also, like, you're a Enneagram 3. So your personality is like, you are a people person, but you also, you like your solitude. You're also reserved. You can also like read the room. And so I think we were a really good match that way. And yeah, I think that you just built a lot of trust over time that when we were together, and, we talked about things before we were even married, saying like, oh, I'm going to oversee the day-to-day operations. You're going to oversee the, big picture decisions. And we kind of talked about that going forward. But then when it came down to it, I think we still like converse and talk about like the way that things make us feel or are concerned. And we've made decisions together. And because of that, I feel like I can trust you when you make decisions, because I know that you hear me, you care about my feelings.
Yeah, that is a good point. And I'm sorry if you guys think the Enneagram is demonic and we just mentioned it, but but yeah, I think that's a good point. There have been seasons in times where, I and when I guess when we're talking about, if you don't have context to this, like when we're talking about submitting and leadership and headship, we're not talking that anything that I say, I just command Adrian to do it and she falls in line and does it. Because I think that sometimes there's a little bit of a misunderstanding with, submission. And I think one of the greatest examples, I was talking to your brother this week about it, was just the idea of, okay, you have God the Father and you have Jesus. And scripture tells us that Jesus submitted to Father. God the Father. He submitted to him in what he wanted. Now, does that mean that God is greater than Jesus? No, it doesn't. Obviously, they're both God, but they have roles to play. And so I think that's how God established marriage, of the male is the headship, which means he's meant to be the leader, and then the woman is meant to submit. But in doing that, like you're saying, it's still a partnership. And I think we model that pretty well. Like, I don't think anybody looking at our marriage, or, maybe not everybody, but most people looking at our marriage wouldn't think that I'm very demeaning and you're just very mousy and submissive. Like we're saying, you have a very loud personality. So sometimes, I don't know. I feel like in the public, a lot of times you have a bigger personality than I do, even sometimes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
So, I think I remember back at a time where you obviously will remember this, but there's been 2 times in our relationship, because I'm trying to think of times where it was hard for you to submit.
Where is the story going?
Adrian's like, which time? It's every time. No, just kidding. But there's been 2 times, and both of them have one of them was a transition season. This was right before the podcast started, where I was like, I don't know what I want to do. You remember this? Mm-hmm. So I said, I don't know what I want to do, because I just felt like the Lord was calling me to do something. Now we know it to be, the ministry and the podcast and everything. Not this podcast, the other podcast, which was great that we landed on that. But do you remember that time where I was like, I don't know what we're going to do, but I might want to take a job somewhere else and move?
Yeah. And that was like a really difficult season, because you're not even saying this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're saying like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have to be open to these opportunities and ideas, because I feel like God's calling me somewhere else. I just don't know where that is yet. And so for me, I was like, I told you, I'm going to die here. Like, I will never
That's what
leave.
she said when we got, well, that's what she continually says, but.
Yeah. But so when you said that, I was like, well, we had an agreement. What do you mean? I've never even thought about that being an option. But honestly, that was probably less me being submitted to you in my mind, and more being like, I need to be open-handed with my life to God, that if he does call you, he's calling us, and I need to be open to wherever that's going. But that's me trusting that, not just that I trust God, but that I trust that you're hearing God.
Yeah.
So I think submission is built on respect and trust, and that goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, you told me, you were like, I do not want to move. Mm-hmm. I do not want to go anywhere. It will be the hardest thing I've ever done. But you did say, you were like, but if you really feel like this is what God wants us to do, then I will do it. And I think that's what the reality of
submission looks like.
It's built on trust. Like, if I was just a idiot and never knew what I wanted and was hot and cold and yes and no, and that's a Katy Perry song. But if I was just changing my mind all the time, and then I came to you, I'm like, all right, we're gonna move. It'd be a lot harder for you to trust that was the right decision.
I'm not submitting to irrational thought, though.
Yeah.
I'm submitting to prayerful consideration and leadership. And for some people, it's like, oh, maybe my leader isn't doing that. What would you say to that person?
What would I say to that person?
Yeah, I want to be submitted. I want to be honoring. But what you're saying, I don't have that. What would you say to that person?
I think there's levels to it. I don't know on what level is somebody being irrational. Obviously, there's times where just because a husband is a husband doesn't mean you have to submit to what he's doing, especially if what he's asking or what he's doing or, is outside of what God has told us to do and what's right. And so I'm not saying that, brainwash yourself into a little soldier. But I am saying try your hardest to honor your husband. At the end of the day, I think men really just want respect, and they want to know that they're respected, and they want to know that they're useful. And those are the two things that a wife can easily give their husband, whereas I think a woman wants to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's so I think the tension a lot of times with submission is you have maybe a wife that doesn't respect the husband, and you have a husband that's making decisions that don't make the wife feel safe.
That's
So,
so good. I actually had that exact conversation with a couple, like separately.
oh, really? Same couple?
Yes, like the husband and the wife separately.
Oh, wow.
Because she's a close friend. And so he was like, ugh, you guys are so similar. What can I do to help her, like, along as I'm making these decisions? I'm like, well, she wants to feel safe and secure. And if you're not making her feel that way, that's probably why she can't trust you right now. And for her, I was like, I think that you're right to maybe ask these things of him.
Yeah.
So that you're not just blindly doing whatever he says. Maybe he has to prove himself that he's trustworthy first. Because I think he wanted to do that. He just didn't know how. So I think what you're saying, like trust and respect, like from a male perspective, like to the male, and then like safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And I think that's what the ingredients are to proper submission. And it is a partnership. It's Adrian has obviously chirped back when necessary, or given better perspective, or given wisdom when I needed it, when maybe I'm being stupid or irrational and not thinking clearly. It's like this.
It's just challenging those thoughts though, and maybe bringing it back to the word. I know that when there's been times when you've been like, I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know what to do. And instead of like giving advice on what I think you should do, I'm like, well, what did God tell you?
Yeah.
Because in the beginning,
that's the podcast in the beginning.
God told you, like, I want you to do this. This is like what I've called you to do. So when you were questioning it or weren't sure or felt you were struggling and wanted to give up, it's like, okay, well, did God change his mind? Did he call you somewhere else? No, then keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about even what I want or what you want, but what does God say? What does his word say?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I'll still say to this day that I probably wouldn't still be doing the podcast if it wasn't for Adrian, because of her support and the partnership there. And I even got a phone call and an opportunity somewhere else, this past year. And it's so funny because Adrian initially was like, I'm never moving. And I was like, all right, whatever. And now I'm like, I'm in the same boat. I never want to move. I never want to go somewhere. And I got a phone call and a really awesome opportunity, really, but it was going to require us to move. And I got off the phone and I called Adrian, and I was like, hey, I feel obligated to tell you that I just had this conversation, but I don't want to go. I don't want to say yes. And I talked to her about it like in the moment, and I was just like, I was actually crying. Like I was tearful because I'm like, like it's like the frustration of, God, if you say yes to this, then like, yes, of course I will, but I don't want to. But even you then was like, I wanted to shut it down immediately. I was like, no, thank you. And you were the one that was like, no, I think that we should at least pray about this and ask God if this is what he wants. So there has been times, this isn't like a dictatorship and this cruel, idea of marriage, of this is a mutual respect, a mutual love for one another, where we respect one another, we recognize each other's roles. And with that, I mean, you might disagree, I hope not, but I feel like our marriage is a beautiful dynamic because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if that's not where you're at right now, maybe you need to voice, what are the things that can help you get to that place where you can trust that person? Like, hey, maybe I want you to be, consistent in this job for at least a year because you've bounced around so much. Maybe that's something that you're looking for in that stability factor or that safety factor. Maybe if you're wanting respect from your spouse, maybe like, what are those things that you're looking for? Like that are tangible, measurable goals to meet so that you can get to a place where submission is more of a natural way to lean when it comes to stuff like that.
That's such a good point too. I mean, so like wives or girlfriends, you would be shocked at how far it goes if like, your husband or somebody gets home from work and you're just like, hey, I just so respect and appreciate like you working hard for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like so small, but again, like men, they just crave the fact that they are respected and they're useful and they're doing something and they're productive. So, and then in the same regard, yeah, like men, I mean, think about the way that your decisions is affecting your wife, because while you might think, men have, our sense of drive and, okay, that we're going to go accomplish this, like you have to realize that you have a family, a wife that maybe isn't on the same page as you,
that are affected by all your
that
decisions.
are affected by all those decisions. And maybe they aren't on the same page as you right now, and you can't be mad at them if they're not, because, we've even been there sometimes.
And it just takes time sometimes, like to process.
Yes. And it's a work in progress. But yeah, you can continue to get better at that daily and then work towards, and then eventually I think the idea is this becomes natural. Like
Right.
this feels like the natural role of, I trust my husband, and the husband sacrificially leads and thinks about the wife.
Yeah. I think selfishness can get in the way of submission as well. When it comes to making decisions, are you making them based on what you want and thinking only about yourself and your wants and your needs? Or are you not submitting because you're thinking only about your wants and your needs versus what's best for your family? Because if you were asking me like, oh, I think we should move, I got this opportunity, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I don't want to. But then that's when I had to be like, okay, no, I need to shift my heart. I need to open my hands to opportunities if this is something God wants. It's not only about me.
Yeah.
So I think I had to let go of my selfishness. And I think at times you've had to do the same thing.
No, I really haven't. I'm a completely selfless person. Just
He's
kidding.
perfect.
I had to do that today. But let's also not forget the fact that, yes, okay, wives submit to husbands,
You
but
did that today. What happened?
me being selfless?
Yeah. What did I make you do?
Nothing. I was just making a joke.
Oh.
I'll tell you after we record. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually was joking. I didn't really have anything in mind.
I'm like, nothing's happened today.
Yeah.
Things are fine. People
Right?
at home, don't be scared.
Right? Things are okay, right?
He's like, haha, just kidding.
No, I actually didn't think of anything in mind. That was just a joke, but it sounded more serious than I intended. But
We just have too much fun. Everything's a joke.
yeah, everything is a joke. But what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say, like, let's not forget that, yes, okay, wives are submitted to the husbands, but let's not forget, men, that you are submitted to Christ. And Christ
So true.
commands you to love and honor and respect your wife. So this isn't a get out of jail free card to do whatever you want in your life and be selfish and pull and drag your wife along with you. This is actually, okay, no, I'm also submitted to a higher authority that actually calls me to sacrificially love and think about the well-being and the prosperity of my family first. So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
We're all submitted to something.
we're all submitted to something except for God.
Well,
He don't submit
he's
to
not
nothing.
we. He's he.
He, well, bars. That's so stupid. Put that on a bumper sticker. We watched. I guarantee you.
This
I know
TikTok,
exactly
what
why
is
you
his
just
name?
did that. It's
I
because
know.
I
He
follow.
went. Sorry if you're not watching and you're only
I
listening.
will. I follow this Asian TikToker who is a beatboxer, and he like replicates sounds that
It's
he hears.
amazing.
It's so impressive. But I just showed Adrian a bunch of them last night, and
And she's taking up a new
she
ambition.
barely attempted it for the first time right now, and
It's not going well.
it's all right. It's all right. We'll get better. Okay, so we're talking about gender roles, obviously, and so do you want to talk about, I guess, maybe like the financial aspect of it, of because there's specific roles that, if we're talking traditional gender roles, people think men are the breadwinners, men handle all the finances, women take care of the kids, women stay at home. That's like traditional.
Yeah.
That's like grandma and grandpa status, and some still hold those values
That
today.
does work for some people.
Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts on that?
My initial thoughts are like, okay, so there's 3 points of view, right? Traditional. Mm-hmm. And there's probably somewhere in the middle. This is probably where I fall.
Okay.
So I think that just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean that all you are is a wife and a mother. If you have ambitions, if you have talents, I think that you can definitely go out there and do your thing, girl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think just because you're a woman doesn't mean you have to stay home. If you think that, I'm going to say a prayer for you later tonight. But I just think like we can't be so rigid in those kind of thoughts because I think it stifles the gifts that some people actually have. When it comes to men like being the breadwinner and providing for his family, I think the man should always have the heart to provide for his family. And just because you don't make more than your wife doesn't mean that you have less value than your wife. I think sometimes that happens. It's not intentional, but different talents, different jobs pay different amounts. So I don't think we need to get so technical about it, but I think if we talked about this, say your opinion, then I'll go into my other idea that I have.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to get too far into it. Say your thoughts.
Yeah, my thought on it is I think that being a mother and being a wife, I think that's like an incredible responsibility and it's an honor. And I don't want to diminish this idea. And I agree with you that I probably fall somewhere in the middle because I think that there's two sides of the camp with this. There's the girl bosses of the world that are like, how dare you just want to be a stay-at-home mom and how dare whatever. And then there's the other side of it that are like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. All moms should be stay-at-home moms. If you're not, then I think there's two extremes.
Right.
I think the world that we live in is vastly different than what we see in scripture. I mean, in the Bible, like we have to realize that like husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, those roles, they are spiritual in nature for sure. But I also think that, 50 years ago, women stayed at home because like men were working from dusk till dawn and there was no childcare and there wasn't like it was necessity. Like the women had to stay home to care for the child because the man was out doing his work. And that's even more so in biblical times. Like there were farmers, they were manual laborers. Like these were hardworking men that would struggle and strive all day. And so somebody needed to be with the kid. But I think there are spiritual roles as well. I think women can work. Absolutely. I mean, like there's like, you can also technically, I mean, whatever, however we want to label it, like you can be a stay-at-home mom, work from home and have a job. Like there's so many women that do that. So I think we live in a different world. I think that we shouldn't say that all women should do one thing or all women should do the other. I do think that we should say though that every child needs a present mother and a present father. In my opinion, and some people might disagree with this, I think especially early on in life, I feel like, if you're in a traditional family sense where the husband is working all the time, I don't think that we should shame that. And we shouldn't shame the traditional aspect of a woman staying home to care for her child. And I hope one day, my hope is that I would be in a place with everything that I do, that you could have the option to do whatever you wanted to do. And so, I'm not shaming anybody for that. But I think that traditional roles, in the spiritual sense, I still believe in it. Like I still believe that men or kids need a strong, masculine father, and they need a loving, tender, caring, feminine mother.
Nurturing. Yeah, I think I agree. I think if you have a gift, don't be ashamed to get out there and use it. If you feel called to be a stay-at-home mom, then that's an incredible calling, and we all know that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I think that there's balance in it. You can't be, a full-time working individual and then neglect your family. Yep. You can't be a stay-at-home mom and then neglect your own identity because now you're just a mom.
Yep.
I think you have to have balance in whatever role you decide to take. And it's whatever is best for your family. Right? Like a lot of families do need two incomes to survive in the economy that we have today. So I'm not going to shame someone because they got to do what they got to do to provide for their family. And I'm also not going to, I don't know. I don't have kids. So my thought is like,
I don't either, just to clarify. We don't have kids.
I'm saying as a mom, I don't have kids. So it's hard for me to think about what I would want to do because that's just not a huge passion of mine. But yeah, I think that you can't be out of balance in whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. And I will say though, that I don't think that any men should be stay-at-home dads.
Oh, that's what I was wanting to get into. That was my cliffhanger. You think that you can have stay-at-home moms, but not stay-at-home dads?
No. I think that God intended for man to work, and even before the fall of the garden, he gave Adam responsibility to work. And I think that that's inherent with men of responsibility and leadership. That is leadership. And I don't, whatever, you can hate me all you want, but I just think, and this is me out of experience too. And if you're a guy, it's just hard for me to
respect you.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I was going to say that not that isn't true, but I'm just saying, I know in my life when I have responsibility and when I'm working and when I'm not, and the difference that I feel in my fulfillment of what God's called me to do is night and day. Like I feel like a piece of crap when I'm not like feeling productive. But I think that's just men, because I think God gives a spiritual assignment for men to work and to provide. And yes, financially, it might not be as much money, but at the end of the day, are you still doing your part to provide for your family?
Yeah, I just wonder what it would be like for a marital dynamic when your wife is the only one working and your husband is not. Like, do you come to resent your husband because now
Probably.
the pressure to provide is on you? And I don't think that's a pressure that you were meant to carry.
Exactly.
You can share that load if that's something that you need to do, but if that's your sole responsibility, I don't think that's the role of the woman.
I don't think so either.
So
that's a good point to make.
In a biblical sense, like not based on my opinion, it's like, what's your role? Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a woman's role to carry that sole responsibility. Yeah. I think they're going to come to resent the man that's not providing or, taking initiative, or like, what are you doing at home? Are you like passionate about doing anything on the side, or like, are you happy I've never seen that.
I don't know. I think that men that are...
Or never seen it successful.
Yeah, I don't think so. It just doesn't make, if we're being honest, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I feel like God puts this level of understanding and morality, and his laws are on our heart, even if you're not a believer. That's like what morals are called. And I just feel like when it just doesn't sit right. And I think if you're being honest, listening or watching, like when you think about a guy that's staying home to be with, the kids, and a woman that's going out and working a full-time job, that just doesn't...
You hear that and you go, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, unless you've trained yourself not to, but it naturally, that's what it feels like. So I don't agree with that at all.
But I do think, like, even just in the term of finances, like breadwinner and providing and working, like I said before, when we talked about finances as a couple, like, you make those big decisions for our family. And, we talk about it. It's not, a dictatorship like we talked about. But, and then all like the day-to-day things, I'm involved in that process. I'm not completely unaware to what's going on in our family. I think that that's negligent. Like, even if I actually really enjoy it. So like, I like being a part of the process, but even if I'm not a part of the process, you can't be negligent to what's happening. 'Cause like, I think that makes you a poor steward to not be involved in that process at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are like that.
I know, but then, people that are like that, I've seen things happen where maybe your spouse is really sick or your spouse leaves you, and like, they had complete control of the finances and you have no idea what's going on and what you're left with. I think that's negligence. I think you're being a bad steward of what you have by having no idea. That's like on the spectrum of A to Z, there's abdication and domination and delegations in the middle. You can't abdicate anything. That's just not responsible.
Yeah.
Like, I trust you, but like, it's also my life too. I think I should at least be in the know of what's going on.
Absolutely.
So like, even when I'm doing those day-to-day things, I'm like, oh, here's a picture of like, our envelopes and what I balanced and where things are going and what all the accounts are at. And you're like, okay, great. Well, how did we get here? I have a few questions about that, or I'm like, hey, like, this has come up. We need to make a decision. Let me know what you decide, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think...
And I go, where did this $200 go? And Adrian's like, oh, that's weird. I don't know. And then I get 5 Amazon packages on the doorstep.
Oh, yeah. But
No.
the reason why we're involved is because things have happened where you're like, how did we get here? And I'm like, I don't know. I did a
Yeah,
bad
but I
job. I
mean,
needed some help. Like, but if you don't know, if I don't know, that's just not okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. I mean, I do make the quote unquote big decisions, but everything is involved, right? If it's a conversation, it's like trips or whatever, whatever we're talking about, investments or business ventures or whatever. It's all a decision. It's not like I'm making the decision saying, "Hey, Adrian, we're doing this." It's, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And then we
That's
make.
informing me, and that's not really like
Yeah,
how we make decisions.
right. So it's just a matter of balance, but on the topic, yeah, of just that dynamic of men and women. I think that there's parameters that give room to operate within, but I just think that if you step outside those parameters, like what we're talking about of, stay at home, and also I will say stay at home. I'm not saying like, hey, I got fired, I'm unemployed, I'm looking for a job. I'm saying like you are deciding, nah, I'm not going to work. Like that, my wife can go do that. I'm just gonna chill here and do. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying transitional seasons or even specific seasons of trying to. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have made a decision in your
I'm
heart.
called to be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not. I'm sorry, but you are not called to be a stay-at-home dad. And that might. I mean, it's probably gonna ruffle some feathers out there, but
Hopefully not too many.
you are
What
not.
are we doing out there?
You are not called to be a stay-at-home father. You are called to provide and help in a different capacity. But anywho,
I think we see eye to eye on this subject, though.
for now, yeah.
For now?
Maybe tomorrow I wake up and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't think I want to work anymore. That'd be crazy. Plot twist. That won't happen.
That ain't happening.
Okay. Is there anything else in the gender roles that you're wanting to talk about?
Not that I want to talk about, but if you guys do have questions on this topic, we want to hear from you. So make sure you write that in the comments or in our anonymous link in our Instagram. You can do that too. We always like to do a Q&A segment at the end just because I feel like we do get questions throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't answer your questions, we will try to get to that. There were a couple this week that I was like, you know what? I think we need to research this a little bit more before we answer it. And then we'll circle back to it because we want to answer not just like, oh, this is what I think and what I feel. Like, while that's true, how do we take it back to scripture?
Exactly. So we have one question or two questions. I'll give you the first question here. Somebody just asked about dating and how to guard their heart.
I do think we talked a little bit about this
last week. A little bit, yeah. So if you're listening and you asked that question, you can go back on the last episode as well. But
well, we can still touch on that more specifically, but I think everything starts emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're dating, I'm gonna say you're already dating someone. I think, yeah, you said that like you loved me at a certain point, but you waited to tell me.
I did.
A little bit of time because you're not trying to scare the person off. Like if you're dating and you're already holding hands and you're kissing and you tell them you love them within like the first week, like
you a psychopath.
slow the roll, my friend. That's a little fast. I think the rule of 4 full seasons of dating is a great rule of thumb to go by. Of course, there are outliers, but I'm saying as a rule of thumb, we're not talking about exceptions to the rule. I think 4 full seasons is a great amount of time to date someone to really get to know them, because who you choose to marry is a really big decision. So if you're thinking in 4 full seasons, like to tell someone you love someone in the first week or saying like they're my husband, I think we got to slow down like how far we're letting our mind go before it's time.
Mm-hmm.
So like where are those physical things going? How long are you waiting to hold someone's hand? How long are you waiting to kiss them? How long are you waiting to tell them you love them? How long are you waiting to introduce them to really important people in your life? I think you need to like slow those big markers down and just like take it easy.
Yeah. And I think what's the point of guarding? What do you guard against? You guard against bad things, and you have to make sure that before you let somebody in, they're not a bad person. And by bad person, I just mean somebody that wants to hurt and manipulate. And there are terrible people out there.
Are they worthy of your trust?
Yeah, that's what,
and you don't know that. Your heart may feel something, but also what do you know?
Yeah, you have to, and that's what those are guarding and boundaries are good for. It's your head getting in front of your heart and saying, hey, okay, I know that you're probably going to feel this way, but I have to step in to make sure that that's protected, because the heart is deceitful, and that's what we know. So yeah, that's a good take. We did talk about that a little bit last week, but that's a good take on guarding the heart.
Yeah, I think you have to guard your emotions and not let yourself progress faster than what you should.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Question number 2. Somebody just asked about I think they said they were 27 years old, and they were just asking about dating apps. I think they said they maybe lived in a small town and there was not a lot of guys at their church or girls at their church. I forget what gender it was, but just asking about dating apps. And so, what do you think about dating apps?
I've never been on a dating app, but I don't see the problem with it. I think it's just a way to meet someone, but you have to probably screen your people pretty well. Be super upfront on your profile about the things that really matter to you. And if it scares people away, then good. We don't want them anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, become an FBI agent in getting the background check on these people. But I agree. I think we live in a different world, guys. It's a digital age, and I think we're not like talking about these documentaries of people that are getting catfished. Like, lots of people are on dating apps. Now, of course, there's different types of dating apps, so maybe don't go on the hookup apps.
Right.
Which I
We're talking
even
about finding an authentic connection meant for like forever.
But I would say why not just see what's out there? It's so funny. It's like people want a spouse and I want a marriage, I want a boyfriend, I want a husband, or wife or whatever, but you're not willing to just go on a date with somebody, Mm-hmm. And so if you really want that, then that we live in a time where information is a little bit more accessible. Profiles are more accessible, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think the stigma is what it used to be, where it's all sketchy and under the radar. I think there are reputable apps that you can go on, Christian apps, I'm sure, mm-hmm. that you can be a part of and go out there. So I would say try it. Have an open mind to it. It's not the end of the world to go on a 30-minute coffee date with a dude and be like, nah, don't think so. What's the harm in that?
Yeah, I think you just have to be open.
You have to be open. You have to be willing. But yeah, I see no issue in it. Don't let people paint this stigma on it. I think 30 years from now, we'll hear of a lot of people that found themselves on a dating app.
I know a couple that got married after a dating app,
mm-hmm.
and they actually lived on opposite sides of the country.
Yeah.
But he ended up moving here.
It happens.
So, I mean, that could be an outlier too, but it is possible. So I think when it first came out, there was a lot of skepticism about it.
Yeah.
But we do so much online now with social media. Like, I feel like that's pretty normal. Even to slide into someone's DMs. What's the difference between that and a dating app? Not much.
Not much. If I was single,
you probably know more about someone from their dating app than you do from their social
Absolutely.
media.
Absolutely. If I was single at 29, where I'm at right now, I would go on a dating app. Would you? You think so?
I'd see what's out there.
Do you think we would match if we didn't know each other?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how they do it though. Probably just interests.
No, we wouldn't match.
No?
Because you'd probably put preferences.
Hates cartoons.
Not Asian. No, I was going to say Asian. Not you probably are oh, who do I like? And Asian wasn't in your...
I don't think I would write that on there though.
Well, it's not like a bio. Adrian, 32 years old, hates Asians. No, but I think you do your preferences in what type of guys you're looking for, and I don't think you would put Asians.
Yeah, but that just shows that you got to be open.
You got to be open.
I never thought that. I don't know if I said this before. I never thought I would ever be with someone who was Asian. I didn't think that was a possibility. But look, here we are.
Look at the Lord. Look at what the Lord can do.
Look at the Lord. So, yeah, I mean, I think the best place that you can meet someone is definitely in your church. She's like, oh, I live in a small town. I have a small church. I don't know. I think a lot of people are like, let me hook you up with someone.
Yeah.
Be open to it.
Be open to it. Ask,
hey, do you know anyone? Because actually there have been there's a couple people that I know that are single and they're really great. And your sister, she was telling me about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I know someone who's also single and they're really great. So I was texting your sister back and forth, like, okay, are they into this? And what do they want? And la la la. It ended up being that they had something that wasn't going to work out when it came to like their preferences for kids. But like they were open to the idea and that, oh, it could have been so good.
You know the story of the guy that was drowning in the ocean and he prays out to God. He's like, God, save me, right? The boat comes and he's like, no, God's going to save me. And then another thing comes. No, God's going to save me. Helicopter comes. No, God's going to save me. And then he drowns and he dies. And he goes up to heaven. And he's like, God, I asked for you to save me. God's like, I sent you 3 things, you idiot. Why didn't you take any of them, right?
Yeah.
With dating, right? We can pray for a spouse. We can pray for a girlfriend. We can pray for a boyfriend. But all the while, we're unwilling to get on a dating app. We don't want our friends to set us up on dates. We don't want our name to get out there. Okay, well, like take the lifeline, take the raft, take what's in front of you to get a godly, God-fearing, amazing spouse because they're out there, but you have to sometimes you just have to do something. This isn't like Cinderella.
Yeah, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And
now, don't be weird and like forceful and like attack guys and girls. Like, hey, please come on a date with me. Don't be desperate, but put yourself out there.
Yeah, put yourself out there. But read the room. If you're asking multiple times, they ain't interested. But
yeah,
I think put yourself out there. I think don't be afraid to. And you know what? You may get rejected. That
tough.
is part of life. But I think that happens to everyone along the way at some point.
Yeah. You ever been rejected?
I've been dumped. That feels like a rejection.
I guess that is the ultimate form of rejection.
Yeah, dude. And I tried to fight it. I'm like, they're not gonna find me. It's a good story. Should I tell it?
It's a good story. It is a good story. If you want, I don't.
It only makes you look bad, Adrian.
Yeah, I don't care. It's up to you.
It's okay. There was this guy that I was dating. It was probably like 6 months or something like that.
6 months ago.
No. I'm saying it wasn't that long, but like I said, like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a relationship girly. I'm head over heels for everyone. So I'm with. So anyways.
Good clarification.
I knew that they were on their way to we need to talk. Oh no. No, not to me. They will not dump me. So I locked the doors to my house. Our glass had our front door was like a glass door. So I put my cell phone right in front of it so they knew if they called me, I wouldn't answer either. I turned on this movie. It's called John Tucker Must Die. So I was like, you will get this sign. So and then I go and then I hide in my room. I was like, maybe he'll go away and then we'll still be together.
That's great. Say, when you say that
Don't
out
worry.
loud.
Then he came and knocked on my window. I was like, oh crap, he found me. And then he dumped me. It's okay.
It's okay.
We are still in the same community today, and
so good.
Yeah, it's super embarrassing. But yeah, I've been rejected.
It is so good. Oh man,
it's good because it's a little bit of crazy in me.
There is, but there's a little bit of crazy in all of us.
I'm like this. I raised my eyebrows in the camera. If you're only listening and not watching, you may be missing out on a few funny moments.
Well, I think that's a good story to end on.
He's like, and I think we gotta cut this woman off.
No, I think that wraps everything up perfectly.
I can't stop laughing.
Oh, well, thank you guys for listening and watching. And,
if that doesn't get us a 5-star review, I don't know what will.
I don't know what will. If you haven't, leave a 5-star review. Leave a written review. We would love to see you guys leave written reviews. We have reviews coming in every week, so we're thankful for you guys. Keep following along. Keep sharing this with the world. Send it to everybody that you think needs it. And I hope that you guys learned a little bit, maybe about a different perspective or the same perspective, I don't know, on gender roles.
Yeah, or maybe a great way to verbalize it.
Yes.
You may know how you feel, but you don't know how to articulate it. Hopefully this gave you some tools to have that conversation or to have, different things that you can be looking for to grow in that area.
Mm-hmm. So we love all of you guys. We're still trying to figure out, and apparently we're supposed to have a name for all of our listeners. Like we're supposed to call them something. That's what we were told.
Oh, like little monsters kind of thing. Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga's followers are called Little Monsters?
Yeah, and then Taylor Swift is like Swifties.
Swifties. Swifties and apparently followings and podcasts are big on this. They call their follower something.
We want the suggestions. What should it be?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually have zero ideas on what it could be. So if you guys have an idea, let us know what we would love.
Pray about it. Let us know.
Pray about it. Fast about it. Let us know what you think we should call you guys. But thank you so much for being a part of the first 4 episodes. We've been having a ton of fun, and we will continue to have fun and put out episodes every Friday for you guys. So we love you, and we'll see you next time on It Takes Two.
It Takes Two.